Coming up on this edition of Carolina Week.
Stop killing us! Stop killing us!
Emotions high on campus after another officer-involved shooting in Charlotte.
Everything was completely consensual that happened that night.
A UNC football player accused of sexually assaulting a student is breaking his silence.
And a new campus initiative provides help for UNC students facing food insecurity. All that and more, Carolina Week starts
right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Tonight we have the latest on the sexual assault allegations against the UNC football player. I'm Caleb Waters.
And I'm Jacqueline Lee, but first we go to our top story. North Carolina has dominated the news in recent weeks as racial tension has reached a fever pitch. A police shooting in Charlotte prompted demonstrations statewide, including here at UNC. Reporter Sharon Nunn joins us live from the Student Union with more about how the campus community is responding.
While protesters took to the street in Charlotte, they also took to the Student Union here, holding a die-in. They packed the floor here. Almost no more students could get in, but they all wanted answers.
Stop the cops and fund Black futures! Stop the cops and fund Black futures!
Now it's Keith Scott's name making the headlines. His death sparked nationwide protests. This time it happened in Charlotte.
I'm really hurt because I know the love and the passion that exists in my city.
Too close to home for many UNC students after police shot and killed Scott last week.
He exited the vehicle armed with a handgun.
In the days following, Charlotte police officers claimed Scott had a gun, and his family argued he had only a book.
He doesn't have a gun.
Then, protests in Charlotte grew violent. The protests at UNC started differently. First, a die-in. Silence. Fists raised. Then students rallied in the pit with emotions high.
And I will scream at the top of my lungs until they stop killing us. Stop killing us! Stop killing us!
Anger, tears, and promises for more protests until questions about Scott's death are answered.
If nobody else wants to stand up just like we're doing right now, we got to do it for ourselves.
I spoke with several students at the rally and across campus. Now, some believe Scott did have a gun. Others believe he only had a book. But the common theme was they all wanted an end to the violence and the discrimination.
Sharon Nunn live from the UNC Student Union. Thanks, Sharon. During the protests, some UNC student journalists went to Charlotte to cover the unrest. Senior Dylan Deaton and grad student VC Conway took pictures of the protest that were featured in a photo gallery on LAtimes.com. You can see in the photos just how close Deaton and Conway were to the scene. The photos showing police officers and protesters were part of a collection published with a story about the Charlotte protests.
The Carolina football player accused of rape says he's innocent and he can prove it. Alan Artis says he did not rape sophomore Delaney Robinson and he wants his name cleared. Anik Joseph is in the studio with Artis' first interview.
Artis attorney Carrie Sutton says it's not appropriate to try a legal case like this in the media. That's why she says her client kept quiet about the allegations until now. Here's part of what he had to say to the News and Observer.
This whole time I've gone through a lot of emotions. The second I heard, I was just like I said earlier, distraught, and I was very sad, angry, not understanding why this is happening to me. I want the truth to get out, and I want my reputation. I want to try and help fix my reputation.
Artis attorney tells me her client took a polygraph test. The results, no deception indicated. Polygraph tests are not admissible in court. I reached out to Robinson's attorney, Denise Branch, for comment. In a statement, she said, any purported inherently unreliable polygraph test does not alter the fact that my client never consented to have sex with Alan Artis. Artis is being charged with a misdemeanor sexual battery and assault on a female, not rape. He's been suspended from the UNC football team. Artis will be back in court on Thursday on some procedural issues. Caleb?
Anik Joseph live in studio. Thanks, Anik.
Monday night, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump faced off in their first presidential debate, and UNC students made the most of the highly anticipated event. The Stroud on Franklin Street hosted a watch party for the college Republicans. Students ate pizza and lounged in the spacious bar, watching the candidates exchange zingers. Down the street at Zog's, UNC Young Democrats gathered in the small upstairs pool room with free food and bingo cards to keep track of the candidates' catchphrases. The presidential hopefuls weren't the only ones with something to say.
She hasn't specified a lot of the plans herself. I mean, Donald Trump he's reputable for knowing that he has not made plans for quote unquote this.
Pardon my French, but I think Trump's an idiot, and he can't answer one question. He goes against everything they're asking him to do, and it just makes me laugh.
And following the debate, Hillary Clinton came to Raleigh, drawing a crowd of 1,400 supporters on Tuesday. Speaking at Wake Tech Community College, Clinton criticized Donald Trump's performance during the first debate. Clinton also highlighted her proposals to raise the minimum wage and mend race relations across the country. The next presidential debate is scheduled for Sunday, October 9th.
And it's been 4 years since the tragic murder of UNC student Faith Hedgepeth. A new photo released by the Chapel Hill Police Department gives us a clearer idea of what the suspect could look like. The tech company Parabon Nanolabs made the 3D sketch using traits from what the police believe is the killer's DNA. And NC State University officials are investigating a case of sexual assault reported Saturday near Memorial Bell Tower. A female student says a man approached her from behind, put his arms around her, and then proceeded to touch her inappropriately. The woman was able to escape, and the man fled the scene. The man did not have a weapon.
Earlier this month, facilities service workers removed the gender-neutral signs from the Campus Y. Campus Y co-president Reagan Buchanan said the signs were removed because they didn't comply with federal regulations. University administrators announced gender-neutral bathrooms will get new signs that comply with these regulations. The UNC Facilities Services website offers a list of all 158 gender-neutral bathrooms available on campus, along with an interactive map showing their locations.
Language barriers can be extremely frustrating. Learn how a group of UNC student volunteers is helping Hispanic families navigate their way through the hospital. Duke Energy has agreed to a $6 million fine for a coal ash spill that happened in 2014. One of its pipes burst and released more than 35,000 tons of coal ash in the Dan River. The energy company originally contested a $6.6 million fine the state handed down. And UNC is the only school in North Carolina that uses live animals in its emergency medicine program. Training here includes cutting into live sedated pigs to practice procedures. Because of that, the UNC School of Medicine is getting heat from Washington, and federal officials have filed a complaint. The Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine claims UNC is violating the Animal Welfare Act because there are alternatives that don't involve animals. And UNC Student Animal Legal Defense Fund says the results of the test on animals won't always be the same for humans.
That does look like a human body and has the same organ structure and the same subcutaneous tissue and fat. It bleeds the same way that a human would, and I'm not sure that a pig necessarily would because it's a completely different species.
UNC says the practices help better prepare residents to save human lives. The next step, an unannounced inspection by the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, which will then determine if changes will be required by law.
UNC held its 8th annual First Amendment Day. The theme, freedom of speech is for my inner rebel, freedom of the press is for my inner journalist. The day-long event celebrates First Amendment rights and explores those rights in the lives of students. On Tuesday, community members read books from the banned books list. Panelists discussed topics such as cyberbullying and trigger warnings, and on-campus groups performed controversial music. Dr. Kathy Packer is the main organizer of the event and says most students in the faculty in the J School love the First Amendment. However, that might not be the case elsewhere on campus.
There is much less appreciation of the First Amendment once you get out of this building. And so we'd kind of like to share our appreciation with the rest of the campus.
Banned Book Week also coincides with Tuesday's event and extends until October 1st.
As a parent, looking out for your child's health is extremely important. But what happens when there's a language barrier? Carol Bono explains how some UNC students are doing their part to help with that.
Meet 9-year-old Gonzalo. His mother doesn't speak English. Thanks to Carolina Conexiones, however, this is no longer an issue when they go to the hospital.
Our goal overall is to give patients a better experience in the children's specialty clinic, to make them feel like they're welcomed and to open up all the resources that are available to them.
Carolina Conexiones started last fall thanks to Dr. Corey Flower and Claudia Rojas, coordinator for the UNC Center of Latino Health. Since then, student volunteers have helped about 700 Latino families navigate through their visits everywhere except the exam room.
Latina families will come into the clinic, we'll meet them in the waiting room, we'll kind of explain to them what our role is, and then we let the family in on what's going on with all of those conversations with the nurses. And then we can help call a medical interpreter whose domain is the actual consultation room with the doctor.
And is he on any medications?
The nursing staff is thankful for the program because the volunteers help speed up the process with the families. That helps Gonzalo's mom, who is willing to make a 2-hour drive from their hometown in order to enjoy the benefits Carolina Conexiones offers Spanish-speaking families.
I just like helping the Hispanic community because I know as I was growing up, I was always like an interpreter for my parents. And it's always nice to be able to help parents and make sure they understand what's going on with their children.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Carol Bono reporting.
Organizers hope to expand the program beyond the children's clinic to other parts of the hospital.
Sweater weather is just around the corner, or is it?
Meteorologist Alex Clement tells us what to expect up next.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. I'm Alex Clement, your meteorologist here at Carolina Week. A couple of things that I want to talk about is the unsettled weather that's moving through today and tomorrow and the reason for it, and I also want to take a look at the tropics real quick. So take a look at the surface map here. You can see that we do have an area of low pressure over the state, and that's going to be moving through in the next couple of days, bringing us a chance of pop-up thunderstorms here and there, and that will eventually move out Friday, giving us plenty of nice weather for the weekend. And then I want to look down at the tropics, and you can see we do have a new tropical storm. This is Tropical Storm Matthew, and that formed this morning. A couple of stats on it. It is moving west right now, but if you're tracking it at home, it's 13.4 north and 60.7 west, with max winds at 60 miles an hour and gusting to 70, moving at east or west at 18 miles an hour. It is expected to get into the middle of the Caribbean and then take a sharp turn north, but they don't know exactly where yet. As we zoom into our radar, you can see we do have some thunderstorms firing up across the area. You can see in the triad and in the triangle, so I wouldn't be surprised if you heard a couple of rumbles of thunder moving through very soon. Currently outside, we do have that chance of thunderstorms, so if you hear a rumble of thunder, don't be surprised. We're at 77 degrees, and tonight we're going to drop down to 69, and we do still have that possibility of thunderstorms through the night. Otherwise, winds light and variable. As we look forward to tomorrow, we do have your breakdown. Out the door, 70 degrees. Around noon, we'll be up to 75, and then around 3, we'll be up to 77. And as we go through the day, that chance of thunderstorms increases as we get into the hotter part of the day. And for your 5-day forecast, you can see we do have upper 70s and lower 80s all throughout the week, with our lows in the 60s. And for our chances of rain, they end on Friday, and we have a great weekend coming up.
So Alex, I'm a big fan of fall. Just tell me, man, when can I wear my hoodie and my jeans?
Not this week. Not this week. You can, you're just going to be hot.
Yeah, I'm ready to pull out the sweaters, curl up in bed, have it be a little cold.
Me too, I miss my hoodies.
I know, I think everyone does. Thanks, Alex.
Well, up next, Rivers Upchurch joins us live to break down last Saturday's football comeback win and this Saturday's big matchup.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Rivers Upchurch with sports. Now, you've probably seen it by now, but it was awesome, so we're going to show it to you again. Let's take a look at the Tar Heels' final drive at Kenan Stadium this weekend. We started off Carolina down by 6, 4th and 9, and Switzer gets 10 to keep the drive alive. And then 3 plays later, Trubisky down the sideline to Austin Prohl, who drags the toes to move the chains again. And then Trubisky finds Switzer again. full extension right there. Switzer with a school record 16 catches on Saturday. None bigger than that one right there. And then finally, with the clock running down, back shoulder fade to Bug Howard, who pulls it in through the contact, and incredibly, Carolina wins 37-36. So after that great win, the Tar Heels now turn their attention to the trip to Tallahassee this weekend, where they will face their biggest test yet. The number 12 Seminoles come in with a 3-1 record, but the team has seen some ups and downs. In the first game of the season, freshman quarterback DeAndre Francois led the Noles back from a 22-point deficit to beat Chad Kelly and the Ole Miss Rebels. But just 2 weeks ago, FSU was embarrassed by Louisville, who hung 63 points on them. The Seminole defense currently ranks 8th worst in yards per play in the entire country. So Carolina will definitely have their chances to score. But this game is ultimately going to come down to whether or not the Tar Heel defense is able to keep Francois and the FSU offense out of the end zone. Now, before we look ahead too much, let's take one final look back at the instant classic we saw on Saturday.
We all we got. Hey, we believe that, and we made it work.
Could you believe that ending? That was phenomenal.
Incredible. What a win.
So I know, Rivers, that was a great game, but how great was it? I mean, I'm not trying to be a hater here, but we haven't seen that many great games in Kenan. Where does that one rank in Kenan Stadium history?
Definitely. That was an all-time classic. That's one of my favorite games that I've been to as a Carolina fan. I've been supporting Carolina all my life, but obviously, tops has got a Gio punt return against State. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. And then another one that I was at as a young child was Miami came to Chapel Hill, and I think their first year in the ACC maybe, and Connor Barth kicked a game-winning field goal from like 45 yards, career long, and then they were selling t-shirts on Franklin Street after the game, and I had to buy one that said on the front, came in ranked, and then on the back it said, went home spanked, like Heels 31, Canes 30 or something like that.
So for the thing is, with this most recent game, there were a lot of people who I knew who left early, and then they saw the ending and they were just so upset that they missed that and couldn't experience that.
Classic Miami Heat fans. My aunt actually left the game early, so I come from a family that has, dwindling faith sometimes. But you know what? I was there. I stayed the whole game. I was in the end zone right behind where Bug Howard caught the game-winning touchdown. Had to pull a Dennis Reynolds and pop the shirt off. And I couldn't control myself. It was the most electrifying atmosphere that we've had at Kenan in such a long time. And the players after the game were thanking the fans who stayed, saying we appreciate the loyalty, and it was just such a special moment.
Well, good for you, Rivers, for sticking around, and thanks for joining us here on Desk.
Thanks for having me.
Hungry and don't have any money? Well, don't worry. UNC now has a program to help.
We'll show you a place on campus that is lending a hand to students who need a little help.
think about food pantries, you might not think about students being the ones needing the food.
Carolina Cupboard is a food pantry right here on campus. As reporter Katie Wilkinson shows us, the organization is expanding to be able to help even more people.
The Carolina Cupboard is UNC's on-campus food pantry, located on the bottom floor of Avery Residence Hall.
We realized there was a significant amount of students, faculty, and staff who had experiences with food insecurities and hunger. So we wanted to be able to provide relief to those individuals.
But in a few months, the pantry will take up a new space in Avery.
We realized that if we wanted to expand to perishable food items, we would need a much larger location.
The space will include new freezers, shelves, and artwork encouraging students to make better food choices.
It'll pretty much be more of an open floor plan so people can walk around, not necessarily set up like a grocery store, but similar to pre-existing food pantries, but a little bit more creative.
And perishable items will mean healthier food options.
It is our hope that when students come, not only can they get food items, but they can also get items to sustain good health and hygiene.
The organization hopes to have the new location up and running by January. In Chapel Hill, I'm Katie Wilkinson reporting.
What a great cause. I know a lot of people can, they can struggle to kind of make ends meet. So to have that resource, I think that's fantastic.
Well, I think a lot of students didn't know that was in the bottom of Avery in one of the dorms. And I think that's raising great awareness to show that, it's right here on campus, so accessible to students.
No, that was shocking to me, the fact that it's even in a dorm. And, students, we have a lot of debt. Tuition's super expensive, so to have this available, I think, I'm glad that the word is getting out about this.
Yeah, it does great to raise awareness, but not only that, to provide for students, who, like you're saying, are really in need. And that's something that I think we don't think about a lot, but is a great way to show, the broader side, the more diverse side of Carolina.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Have a great night.